Hi, my name is Manuel Tsvetansky and today we're going to talk about Composer. So, what is Composer? Composer is a popular dependency manager for PHP which helps developers manage their project dependencies. With Composer, developers can easily install and manage third-party libraries and packages. The most important Composer file is the composer.json file. There developers can specify which packages and libraries their projects depends on, along with the specific version they require. Another benefit of using Composer is that it helps to ensure that all of the project dependencies are kept up to date. When a new version of a package is released, Composer can automatically download and install it, helping to ensure that the project is using the latest and most secure version of each package. What are the key features of Composer? One of the most important things to understand about Composer is the concept of packages. A package is simply a collection of PHP code that provides a specific set of functionality. To use Composer, developers first need to install it on their system. They can do it with Composer init command, which will generate a composer.json file that can be used to specify the project's dependencies. To install a new dependency, developers simply add it to the composer.json file and run the composer install command. Composer also provides a powerful autoloading feature which makes it easy for developers to include classes from their project dependencies without having to manually include each file. So why should you use Composer? Firstly, it's easy installation and setup. Secondly, the dependency resolution. Thirdly, the centralized repository. Fourthly, the version management. Fifth, the outloading. And sixth, it saves time. So, how do we install Composer on various systems? For example, let's do it on a Linux based one. So first we open our terminal. We check if Composer is currently installed. We see that it isn't, so we download it, the composer par file, but firstly we must get the installer. After that we move the far file to the user local bin composer directory. This is strongly Linux specified. It may be some difference on the other operating systems. Now we check for composer again. And hooray, it is ready and running. There are so many possibilities for installing packages with Composer. For example, we can install a new Symfony app just with running this command: composer create project Symfony website skeleton my project. Another one is a fresh Laravel app. It can be easily installed with composer create project. Prefer this to Laravel and the name of your project. And let's not forget about beloved Drupal. We can create a new project simply by running this command: composer create project Drupal recommend project and the name of our project. So let's test this one. The name of the project will be presentation. And it's done. We have a fresh new Drupal installed on our local machine. How do we use Composer? The most important files about Composer are the composer.json and the composer.log files. The composer.json file is a JSON formatted file that specifies the dependencies of your project and their version. It also contains metadata about your project, such as the name, description, and author. Here is an example of the composer.json file. This composer.json file specifies that the project requires the Drupal core recommended package as a dependency and the version should be above 10, which means any version equal to greater than 10 and less than 11. The composer.json file can be manually edited or updated using the composer require and composer update commands. As we see, this is the name of the project, this is the description, and this is currently all the required dependencies. For the moment there are very few. Composer.log file. This file is generated by Composer and contains a list of all the dependencies installed in your project along with their exact version and the version of their dependencies. This file ensures that every time you run composer install, you get the exact same version of the packages that were installed earlier. It's strongly recommended to commit this file to your version control system so that everyone working on the project has access to the same version of the dependencies. Here is an example of composer.walk file. This is the composer.walk file. What are the main operations with Composer? The Composer commands require, install, and update are used for managing dependencies in a PHP project, but they serve different purposes. Here's an overview of the differences between these commands. Require. This command is used to add a new dependency to your project. When you run Composer require, the package name, Composer will automatically download and install the required package and add it to your Composer.json file as a dependency. Install. This command is used to install the dependencies specified in your Composer.json file. When you run Composer install, Composer will read your Composer.json file and download and install all the required packages in a directory called vendor in your project directory. Update. This command is used to update the dependencies in your project to the latest version. When you run Composer update, Composer will read your Composer.json file, check for any available updates for the installed packages, and update them to the latest versions. In summary, required is used to add a new dependency to your project, install is used to install dependencies specified in your Composer.json file, and update is used to update the dependencies in your project to the latest version. Let's check them out. Let's, for example, require a new dependency, Waravi parser. And Composer successfully added Waravi parser. We can see it in the vendor folder in the Waravi, and all the required files are here. If we, for example, download a new repository from a project files and folders from remote repository, and we want to install all the related packages, we just need to run Composer install. And for example, let's delete this package from the vendor folder. And if we run Composer install again, it will check that its files are missing and it will download it again in the vendor folder. And let's try the last one, which is update command. For example, let's add the Drupal web form module with version beta 4. If we add it manually in the Composer.json file and then run Composer update, it will install Drupal web form beta 4 version. Next, if we change the version to the beta 5 and run Composer update, it will upgrade to the specified version. So what are the benefits that Composer brings to Drupal? First, better dependency management. Drupal has a lot of dependencies and managing them can be challenging. Composer makes this task much easier by allowing you to define dependencies in a Composer.json file and install them with a single command. Consistent environment. Drupal projects can have several developers working on them, and each developer may have a different environment. Easy module management. With Composer you can install Drupal modules and themes directly from their official sources or from third-party repositories. Custom scripting. Composer provides a script execution framework that can be used to automate common tasks such as compiling assets, running tests, or performing database migrations. Improved workflow. Composer can integrate with popular development tools like Git and continuous integration servers to automate the deployment process. Example for updating module and applying a patch. As we saw earlier, we updated a Drupal web 4 module from 6.2 beta 4 to 6.2 beta 5. manually in the composer JSON file and we run the composer update command. If you wanna apply a patch, for example, we must first download the composer patches dependency. After this, for example, we want to add this to patches. If you wanna add patches, you must add it in the extra section in the composer JSON file. And we must run composer update again. The patches were added successfully. Adopting package management is undoubtedly the way forward for the PHP. Other languages like Ruby have demonstrated how simple it is to incorporate packages into the project, making it possible to tackle common issues just once and save developers from wasting time constantly reinventing the wheels. A significant number of leading frameworks have already embraced Composer, while many individual developers are releasing code that is Composer compatible right off the bat. As a PHP developer, you will find that Composer quickly becomes your go-to. By adhering to conventions, PHP can become a much more efficient language to work with. Composer has already resolved a significant challenge within the PHP community, so there is really no excuse for not starting to use it today. Overall, Composer is a valuable tool for Drupal developers that streamlines the dependency management process, improves the consistency and makes it easier to manage modules and teams. Thank you for your time and I hope this presentation was very helpful.